3, 2, 1.
What's up, guys? This is Drew, and
this is Brad.
And you are having a close encounter with the Unidentified Flying Podcast.
Yet again. First and foremost, let me apologize for my voice. I've been a little under the weather lately, and I'm struggling back, but I still kind of lost my voice a little bit. But I'm gonna soldier through. So that out of the way, I don't think we really have. Well, first, this episode, we're calling it the beer episode.
Yeah. But it's more than just beer, obviously.
More than just beer. Alcohol.
Alcohol in general. There's a lot of local stuff in Oklahoma going on with liquor laws and stuff like that. And we've talked to some people about some, at least a couple of small business owners, excuse me, about a couple of things, and just kind of going to talk about some of the changes that are maybe on the horizon and what they mean. So before we get into all that, though, let's, we had some people that maybe we were going to mention.
Stacy Battles.
Yeah,
she made a nice comment about us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Said she was listening to us while she was cleaning her house.
Awesome.
And that she was learning about sports.
I heard that possibly she liked it when we cussed.
Yes, and that too.
And like I said to you earlier, the real question now becomes, who cusses better?
Oh, it's me, of course.
There's only one right fucking answer to this question. And Stacy, I think you know what the answer is. So
it's me.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
And vote for Drew.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for listening and for your comment.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's just nice. Like I said, we're infiltrating houses and homes.
Yeah.
Apparently.
We're getting dangerous.
I guess so.
Okay, so anybody else that we had that we wanted to mention?
Not that isn't pertaining to what we're talking about.
Okay.
We'll kind of bring up.
All right. Well,
as we dive into the subject.
Yeah, you're gonna drive this one, man, because you've got a page over there, and I've got a business card with some shit written on the back of it. So,
well, I told you when we were kind of planning this episode, it kind of started out just wanting to talk about beer, and there's craft breweries here in Oklahoma that are made locally, and I kind of wanted to get into just talking about that, really, because
sure.
I don't drink a lot.
Me neither.
There are times I do, and
I'm just a beer drinker when I do drink. I'm not a liquor fan.
It kind of just depends, but I'm not a youngin' anymore where I'm out partying every night, and not that you have to be, but it's an occasional thing. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and as I kind of got into, doing a little bit of research just on the subject, because there's things I didn't know. I also kind of wanted to go into the, I wanted to talk about the laws in the state concerning all this stuff anyway.
Sure.
And at the same time, that's when the legislation, or the legislative session started for this year, mm-hmm. and they, some lawmakers introduced a bill that was going to supposedly reform and change all this stuff. So that kind of added me looking into it even more because, I'm interested just on a personal level.
Yeah.
And then two, just wanting to do this story for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of went from there. And I'm like, it's a deep rabbit hole, basically, as far as what specifically you want to talk about with this subject.
Well, let's start with this. Because we're doing a beer podcast, we went ahead and made a beer run.
Yeah, exactly. How can we not?
Yeah. So, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking, I asked for a local one. It's a native amber, and it is brewed and canned by Co-op Ale Works in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
How is it?
It's pretty good. I probably would have went for they had this one, and they had a light, or a blonde.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have went with that.
The blonde.
But this is pretty good. I like it. I like all sorts of different stuff.
Well, I'm a sellout. And so I'm drinking imported straight from Munich, Germany. My favorite beer, Spaten. Spaten, if you've never heard of it. It's fucking awesome. It's a light beer. Love it.
I've never tried it. You'll have to let me have it.
Dude, hey, yeah, I got 5 more of them in the fridge, so yeah, grab it whenever. But yeah, we bought this beer at, let's just mention him real quick. I mean, we'll probably come back and mention him.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Adams Liquor here in Norman, Oklahoma. Which, by the way, I wanted to mention this before because I kind of, like the last couple of weeks, I've been like, we're on location here, we're on location there. I wanted to say that we're back in studio.
Back in studio.
And I think we're going to call this studio the mothership.
Okay.
So, okay, cool. You're cool with that. So live on air, we've decided, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It is a democracy after all. Okay. So, but anyway, Adams Liquor in Norman on Alameda. Roger Morgan's owner, operator, cool guy.
Yeah,
straight out of fucking Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But yeah, so we picked all this up there and had a chat with him, which we'll get into some of the stuff that we talked with him about a little later. But yeah, just a quick shout out to him for...
thanks for the beer, and thanks for we asked us some questions.
And he was more than willing to chat with us, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, okay, so go ahead, get back into what you got.
Well, like I said, we wanted to get into the ins and the outs of all this stuff, because I'm sure like you drank beer in this state.
Yep.
It's got some weird alcohol laws.
Yep.
And everyone always wants to, like, God, can they change it, please, or adjust it or whatever, from anything from the time the liquor store is open to 3.2 beer. That's what our state's known for. If you're not from Oklahoma, then you come here and you're like, what the hell is this? Also, like, you can't buy wine and things like that at a grocery store. We just don't do that here, because that's how we roll in Oklahoma. We need to have a Bible next to our gun, I guess, as we carry it. I guess. I don't. That's just talking to this guy at the liquor store and anybody else. I'm like, it's always left over from Prohibition, which I think we were like one of the last states to change our laws concerning that.
To come out of Prohibition?
Yeah, I think, what was it, 1959?
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that's some of the wine stuff.
And we still have some dry counties here in Oklahoma, though, don't we?
Yeah.
We have, more than you would think, I think, actually. It's...
Yeah. I always see, this has been in the last 10 years, but, certain counties needing to vote on, they don't have, drink, sell by the drink, like you can't buy, just all sorts of stuff. There's still to this day, that's kind of why they're changing some of the laws now, because we still haven't changed some of them. We still can't, liquor stores aren't open on Sunday. The whole strong beer, which this is what I didn't know for the longest time growing up, is I just thought that stuff was illegal. Like, you can't buy strong beer at all. It's not that it's illegal, it's that it can't be sold cold.
Yeah.
So,
unless you go to a bar.
That's right.
It's just so many, it's just strange. It's strange whenever you think, like, it just doesn't make, on the face of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I can buy it cold only at this place. Mm-hmm. I can't buy it cold here.
Yeah.
But I can buy it cold in a place like this if it's weaker. But if it's stronger, I can only buy it cold over here again. It just seems kind of like a weird... It just doesn't make any sense. Can you buy it or can't you?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, and we could still buy this, but, it's not cold, so we've got to go... I personally, this is what you find weird. I'm sure a lot of people do find weird. I like my beer at room temperature. That's just me. But if you want it cold...
But you're a weirdo, so...
yeah, I get it. I get it. But, like most people do, and I don't mind cold beer, but you have to... if you're a normal, regular Joe, and you're wanting to go get a 6-pack and have it cold, then you've got to go to a convenience store or maybe a grocery store or something, and that is what's called near beer, or 3.32, yeah.
Or you can buy the stronger stuff, but you got to go throw it in the fridge or the cooler or whatever for a couple hours.
Like I was just saying, it's just a pain in the ass. You can still buy it.
Which I don't know what I guess the rationale is, so you won't drink it immediately and go...
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer for you to... I don't know.
Yeah,
Yet again, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I think before we get into the law side of this, because, that's a whole nightmare to talk about, let's just kind of dive into the industry. Okay. Because I'm not a fan of Bud Light, and I know it's cheap. Everyone wants to go get a Natty Light and get your 6-pack, and I understand that and stuff. But there are breweries here in Oklahoma that make their own. Like, that's where I got this beer from that I'm drinking. Yep. And it's a local thing. People are into local businesses.
Sure.
That's tax dollars, I'm sure. And I looked up, just kind of researching this stuff. I looked up this guy named Travis Roach. He has a PhD in economics from Texas Tech. And I guess he's a professor up at UCO. He works in the Department of Economics and College of Business. He's actually done a lot of publications that we'll probably use later for other episodes of the podcast, like stuff from like wind energy and tax credits to that stuff to all the way. He did a economic analysis of Oklahoma craft brewing in the state. Okay. And he did just like some comparisons, like, how much money they make and how it's compared to like some other states and stuff. So I'll kind of get into that. Like, he found that the Oklahoma craft brewing industry generated $415.7 million in economic activity, and this was in 2014.
Wait, how much?
$415 million.
Oh, $415 million. Okay.
And that's an economic impact, and that's kind of measured in a couple different ways. Like, one, it can be like very directly measured by the amount of like, well, you look at like how many people work in that industry and how much they get paid. That's a direct impact. And then there's some, indirect impacts like, the bars that this stuff is sold at.
Yeah.
The agriculture that it takes to make the basis for these products. The increase in sales from these places you sell it at. Okay. There's people that distribute it. They've all got jobs. They make money. They spend it in the economy, yada, yada. So that's kind of the indirect impact that this industry has.
But overall, he's basically saying that it's a near half a $1 billion industry in Oklahoma.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as like
it's pretty fucking sizable.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
And that's kind of what's kind of crazy. And I'll bring up some more stuff here in a second. Like, considering the restrictions we have on stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone knows, like, we're kind of in a fiscal crisis right now in the state.
Yeah. Got a bit of an energy crisis going on.
Yeah. More ways than one.
Yeah.
This is something I found interesting and in his paper, which I read, and it's you can find him online. He's got all of his publications, and it's pretty dry economic stuff, but I like that kind of sort of thing. And I just took some of the things that I thought was the most like,
all right, let me lean back, put me to sleep.
Impactful. Okay. In 2014, Oklahoma had 10 craft breweries, and compared nationally, out of all the 50 states, we were 47th.
So we're on the low end.
So we're on the low end. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
Talking about the direct effect of the employees and like the incomes they made, the employee pay in this industry ranks 6th nationally.
Really?
Yeah. So we're on the very high end.
Okay.
So that I just thought that was kind of crazy. Like,
we have a small amount comparably speaking, but
it pays very well.
Their employees it pays very well for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Let's see. Something else he did was, it's a little bit different to compare Oklahoma to a state like California because it's just so much bigger in population, size, the economy, yada, 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 etc. So what he did is he kind of took like a subsample of states and did a comparison to states that are similar in population to Oklahoma. Okay. I think give or take like 1 million or so.
Yeah, which is fair.
And these were states like Oregon, Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Iowa. Just to kind of give you an idea. There's a few more I'm probably forgetting, but
there's states that are on our level population-wise.
Exactly. And he took their industry, their craft brewing industry, and kind of compared them to ours. And he found that like out of all that subset of states with similar population, Oregon is like, that's where the mother lode's at, man. It has 4 times the economic impact out of any other state.
Really?
And it's because they've unleashed their craft brewing industry as far as the laws are concerned.
Okay.
I mean, 4 times, like, fuck, dude. Yeah, production, they're the first in production. They make the most. It's because since they're allowed to, they've ramped it up, so you got to think their economic impact's bigger. They make more barrels of beer. Just on any measure, they make the most. We, however, are in the subsample of states are on the low end, just because we're pretty restrictive on what you can and can't do with the craft brewing industry.
Yeah.
But think about that again. Like, remember that direct impact. We're on the low end still in production. We still pay people at one of the highest rates. So it's a good job. And
where does Oregon rank? Do you know? In the pay for employees?
It was like near first.
Okay.
Yeah, it was up there. I don't know if it was first, but it was like top five.
Top five. Okay.
5 or 10, which I mean, out of 50 states, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just like something else to bring up. We talk about the like the fiscal crisis. We have talked so much about how like Oklahoma relies so much on oil and gas.
Yep.
And since the crash in the 80s, we've diversified. We've changed, so it's not going to be as big of a burden. Mm-hmm. And in a way, that's true. If you look at like, just like the amount of taxes and the money the state makes off different industries, we have somewhat diversified. But here's something that hasn't diversified: incomes. Back in the 80s, I think 13% of our incomes came from oil and gas, people in the state.
Yeah.
30 years later, today, 14%.
So it's basically stayed
It's basically the same thing, or it's slightly increased. So when that industry goes down,
we have the same level of dependence.
The same level of dependence.
Yeah.
It has not changed whatsoever. You would think 30 years, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You would think.
Yeah. You're like, God damn it, just do something. Something else, let's see. Oklahoma taxes collected in 2014, $5.5 million.
Collected
on this craft brewing industry. Yeah. So that's kind of the. I mean, like talking about like how we compare to those other states. What if we moved up? I mean, what if we did half of what Oregon does? I mean, what could we do? You'd be looking at more jobs.
Yeah.
You'd be looking at we're one of the best in pay. So you'd be looking at like hiring paid jobs compared to the rest of the industry. I don't know what that compares to like to working at Walmart or
sure
any other job or oil and gas, but fairly well, I would think. Yeah, and just something else about the craft brewing industry. Nationally, it generates $55.7 billion.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. And you got to think, something that's kind of interesting there, like it generates that much money. There's actually two main beer breweries and distributors in the country, and that's Anheuser-Busch and that's Miller Coors. They own 80% of the market.
Which we'll get into some of that. I mean, the 3-2 market is dominated by Budweiser, Miller
That's
Coors.
it, yeah, because no one I mean, and I can't blame them, but like if some craft brewery was here opening up in the state and like, hey, we're going to make beer, they're not like, man, let's rush out to make 3-2 beer.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's not what and that's me as a customer. That's not what I want. I want the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever they're making. So that's pretty much it as far as the craft brewing industry.
Okay.
Kind of the notes I wanted to take.
Yeah, it's kind of
and basically like like I said,
an overview.
What if they unleashed it? And that's actually something that this Travis Roach goes into. Like, I'm not going to talk a lot about it here because I don't want to bore you too much with numbers. But like, he looks at like, what happens if this industry increased by 10%, 20%, 50%? Because even regardless, year over year, just it is an industry that sees double-digit growth, sometimes triple. I mean, people are into this stuff, and it's also like kind of why people like Anheuser-Busch and Miller Coors, they're going around buying these some of these little breweries up because they want that under their umbrella. Sure. And plus their profits are down. So it is in their it's their incentive to do that. I'm not going to blame them for doing that, but
yeah, but at the same time, I'm with you. I understand wanting to protect your own interests. I get it, but it's what you're willing to do that. And I think some of the stuff we'll find, I think, is like we're going to get to one point. If you mention it, if you don't, you already mentioned it to me, but if you forget, I'll bring it up because to me, when I hear it, I'm just like bullshit.
Yeah.
Like that should not be fucking allowed. But we'll get to that. Hopefully. And, if I'll try to remember to bring it up if you don't.
That's fine. Yeah. We'll have plenty to talk about.
I don't want to jump ahead too far because I know you got a road.
I'm actually mostly through it. It's like with a lot of this stuff, not just the laws, but like the numbers.
Yeah.
The laws, like, well, we can't do this and that, but if you're standing on your head in a corner and you're stacking BBs, but then it's allowed, it's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, it wasn't until we found, when we were talking to Roger from Adam's Liquor, he was telling us that, hell, it wasn't until maybe like 5 years tops ago, whenever they allowed start selling, you could start selling, liquor stores could be open on election days.
Yeah, before that, it was not allowed.
Which I'm just kind of like, what's the impetus of that law?
Yeah.
What, like, if you're a Republican and you drink a fucking beer, you're going to go down and be like, fuck it, I'll vote Democrat, I'm drunk. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, was there really enough people complaining about that?
I guess
I just don't get what
it's another old law that's...
It just doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, you can't fucking fish for trout on a Thursday unless it's, fucking
I mean, hell, like we've
season.
Talked about, hey, you can't get half the people to go vote anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, maybe that's the problem. Like, if we get them drunk, they won't even show up at all.
Yeah, maybe. Which I think I should say, initially, when I first heard about, you kind of told me about this stuff that was, being talked about, it's, because this is all stuff that's, the Senate has passed it, I think. We're at the stage now where the House, I think, has to deliberate on it. And then if it passes there, it'll probably be a state question on the ballot in November.
And I'm guessing, like I was telling you earlier, I'm guessing that's because it's in the Oklahoma Constitution.
Yeah, this has got to be this.
Otherwise, I don't see why they wouldn't just be like, "Hey, we're legislators. We make a law. This is the new law now."
Or let cities, city ordinance or whatever. I don't know. But when I initially heard about it, I was like, "Fuck yeah, hell yeah, dude! I want to be able to buy strong beer, cold." Whatever, I'm cool. I'm all for it.
Yeah, or the time, like to be open on Sunday.
Yeah, like I want to. If I want to buy beer Sunday at noon,
and I'm sure you're not alone. On that.
Exactly.
Everyone's like,
yeah. I just don't. I don't understand the. Again, I mean, I'm sure there are religious connotations to it, but hey, I mean, nothing against religious folks, but pretty sure laws made under religious auspices are kind of not it doesn't really speak for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, so you shouldn't buy beer on Sunday because it's God's day. Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. More power to you. I'm going to go get a sixer.
Yeah.
Cause I'm me and you're you.
Yeah.
I understand.
That's
my whole thought process in general, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I gotta say though, after talking with this guy, Roger, it hadn't dawned on me. I mean, I don't know. I kind of felt a little dumb after, he said it. I was like, man, that's a good fucking point.
And that's why I wanted to talk about this stuff. It was just like,
if this stuff passes,
it's so complicated and you don't think about this at first.
If this passes, this stuff, it's going to kill businesses like his.
Yeah. And it's called, what you're talking about is SJR 68, Senate Joint Resolution 68. Number 68. Yeah. My God, that's its own nightmare.
And what all do you, I mean, I know you don't know everything. Actually, God, excuse me, I keep coughing. I keep trying to mute myself, so if it sounds weird or it's coming through,
but hitting the hyperdrive up too much, man.
God, just being sick, man, it sucks. Yeah, so this thing, it says like, allows refrigeration of strong beer in all outlets, allows single strength beer in Oklahoma. Maintains distribution system that favors local and national competition and brings maximum selection to the consumer. But then there's all these other things. I mean, I don't know, and I'm not going to hit every one of these bullet points, but when you first hear it, you're like, great. And then you start thinking, oh, wait, this is going to mean, you're not going to have anywhere near the liquor stores you have now. And God, I don't want to mean to sound like we're a bunch of lushes here, but I mean, there's an industry that's going to get impacted pretty hard.
Yeah. And like the guy that authors this bill, his point is like, there's enough money to go around. Both can happen.
Yeah.
Which I don't
know that he's wrong. I don't know enough about it to say that he's wrong, but whenever I think about it, and like this guy Roger told us, why Walmart, 7-Eleven, all these people that suddenly now can carry strong beer, they're not going to carry Spaten. They're not going to carry Newcastle Brown Ale.
Yeah.
They're not going to carry, your imported favorite beer. They're going to carry stronger Budweiser, stronger Miller, Corona. They're gonna carry those beers.
Those top 5 things that sell the best.
Yeah, and they may have a couple of exotic beers here and there, but you're not gonna have. You walk into a liquor store, anybody who knows. I mean, it's selection. I mean, you've got God knows how many. Like hell, I think this guy Roger, his liquor store is on the small side. I would say. Shit, that dude's got man. I mean, just glancing, I mean, at least 50 different kinds of beers.
Yeah. And you're right. He is on the small side.
And we're not talking about the liquor he has. We're just talking about the beer.
Yeah.
So just a straight beer. So you want to talk about, being able to develop a taste and be like, oh yeah, that's the perfect beer for me. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Here in Oklahoma, if that shit passes, you're probably not going to be able to find that beer. Well, if you can find it, it's probably going to be more expensive than it is now. And it's probably going to be harder to find because there's going to be less liquor stores.
Yeah. And that's something we'll dive into as far as why is that,
Yeah.
Something else I wanted to bring up. This affects wine, the wine industry too. I mean,
Sure.
there are places that just, they don't sell liquor or beer. It's just wine and that's it. And, you also, that's one of the, the laws now. You can't go to, the grocery store and get a thing of wine. You've got to go to
The liquor store.
the liquor store.
Sure.
And
What was it the guy Roger said? He said beer and wine was 60% of thereabouts. Beer and wine was 60% of their money.
yeah, well, what he's making?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, whenever you basically, it's not that you're taking away his beer and wine. It's just you're allowing everybody else now to sell it.
Yeah.
It's gonna eat into the big side
he's not
of
making money off the bottle of vodka.
Exactly.
I don't think. It's basically
He's making money off of these. I'm not. What do you want to call them?
That's an import.
Imported beers. I mean,
Yeah.
beers that you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
And wines that you can't
And some
find
of these
anywhere
are,
else.
local nationally or local, how that beer I'm drinking here is from Oklahoma City, know.
Yeah.
It ranges differently. But talking about the wine industry, think about all those numbers I brought up with the craft brewing industry. That's just the beer.
Oh, that has nothing to do with
It has
wine?
nothing to do with the wine.
Oh, okay. So what are any idea?
I'm not going to bring. Like I said, I'm not going to go down.
Okay, fair enough.
But the thing I wanted to bring up with the wine industry was it wasn't until the year 2000 they had another state question, and we voted it in. And I think it was state question 688, and that was going to allow Oklahoma wineries to distribute to restaurants and liquor stores. So the fact that he had wine in there in his liquor store, that wasn't even until the year 2000.
Like local wine or just
local,
wine in general?
Well, I think local wine.
Okay.
So I'm guessing if you had to,
Which
if he wanted to sell wine and he had to get it from somewhere else.
Yeah, that just sounds so dumb. Like imagine you got a liquor store in 1999 and you're like, sweet, let me get some wine. And be like, oh, hold on, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to buy that wine from California.
Yeah.
Or wait,
wherever,
but this guy down here said that he thought he could, make a vineyard and, well, it doesn't matter. You can't sell wine locally in Oklahoma. Like,
you're leading into my next point.
Cutting off your nose to spite your face, man.
I know. In the year 2000, there was only 3 Oklahoma wineries.
Wow.
In 2006, after this that state question was passed,
Yep.
50
Wow.
Oklahoma wineries. Then, this is the best part, in 2006, the wholesale liquor distributors sued and got it ruled that it was unconstitutional. That state question that everyone voted on and passed. So for 2 years, that shut it down. We go back to before the year 2000.
Where you could only import wine?
I guess so, yeah.
What
or
the
not have it at all. From no local wine. Then it was reapproved in 2008, but it just had a bunch of restrictions on it. So it's you can do it, but you've got to go through the ringer to even.
Can I sell fucking wine or not?
I know, right?
It's so stupid.
I mean, I understand having rules and stuff.
Sure,
you need to be.
But can you sell it?
Yeah, can I just fucking sell this?
Yes,
shit?
you can, but you can only sell it outside. You have to go 150 miles before you can sell it. Why?
Yeah, that was something.
Because
that
we
was
like
some of
it
the
that
restrictions
way.
where it was like they were having to travel so far because they could only sell it in certain places. And it was like by the end of the day, you're spending more on gasoline than trying to run a wine business
Sure.
or a winery. Yeah, and this is the only number I'll really give with a wine. In 2009, Texas wine industry, just to give an idea of our neighbor, it's a lot smaller than California. California is like, I think, the number one in the country. They've got Napa Valley, and
Yep.
they try to rival the French, which I think that's its own argument as far as like what they do with wine. But
Sure.
they've got a huge wine industry. Texas is a lot smaller. Just in Texas alone, they employed 9,000 people, $1 billion economic impact,
Wow.
and that's on the small side
Yeah.
compared to California. Oklahoma, can we get a taste of that?
Yeah, it'd be nice.
In more ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just these laws. I mean, I just don't get how I could not be a politician because I'd just be up there and I'd be like, okay, somebody fucking explain to me how any of this shit makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't. Well, these guys, they lobbied because it was unconstitutional. How the fuck is it unconstitutional whenever it was a state fucking question?
There
Everybody
was something
voted on
already
it.
in the Constitution that they were able to
I
probably
swear, what
get.
it sounds to me like is they're like, well, we're greasing people's palms here.
Yeah.
This is our money at work,
And
buddy.
that's why I told you something where it's like, it seems, and on one side, it's like, it's so easy to like get so many questions about the Constitution when I think the Constitution shouldn't be changed a whole lot.
I agree.
And they're just like, every year, there's 5, 6 questions, which a lot of them are common, like, yeah, sure, what the hell.
Yeah.
But you take that approach and you're changing the Constitution so fucking often.
Sure. It's going to be
Shit like that's
unrecognizable.
going to happen because you're going to like,
Sure,
well, that
sure.
weird thing came up and somebody sued and got it in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court and they go like, well, it's unconstitutional in their opinion. There went your fucking state question, man.
Yeah.
Shut her down, It's just
Oh, sorry.
what is fucked up about this law not even that's a law. The state question that they're proposing is instead of doing like you say, like, hey, we want to, have the convenience. We want to have the better beer. We want to have maybe I don't think
cold.
Cold, whatever. They just tied all this other shit in with it and bundled it up and was like, hey, let's just change all the rules regarding the entire industry, which, some of them do need to be changed. Like talking about the craft brewing industry. There are restrictions on that industry, we're saying like, you could actually help that industry out.
You were telling me like the process they have to, like, any of these people that sell anything higher than 3.2, they have to go through a multi-tier process.
It's a 3-tier system. And that was something I think from after Prohibition as well, where it was like they set that 3-tier system up to basically diversify the market. So you couldn't be like look at 3.2 and Anheuser-Busch. They are able to brew it and distribute it all themselves. So they can then, okay, this is the price.
Yeah.
There's no competition.
Yeah.
Maybe from the one other company, Coors.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sure.
When you got the 3-tier system, you've got all these different breweries. You've got so many different breweries. You got, what does it go? It goes from brewers, and then you go to a distributor, and then they give it out to retailers. That's the 3-tier system.
And that's going to costs all of them money.
Who?
The breweries, the people, like these independent operations, because it's going to cost to deal with the 3-tier system. I assume it costs every step of the way. It costs each of them money to deal with it, because I have to buy it. I have to buy it from the wholesaler to then sell it retail. Whereas Budweiser's like, yeah, we just skip all that and just
But at the same time, on the consumer end, you got to think, since there's way more, the division of the tiers anyway, and then since there's like more different people within those tiers, you got to think there's more competition, which then makes it cheaper for people buying it.
Okay, sure.
So that's something else that the law changed, or is wanting to change. It wants basically like out-of-state manufacturers like Anheuser-Busch and the like. They'll have a 50-50 partnership with manufacturers and wholesalers. And they can also choose who the wholesaler is. So then they could then go to like, just, hey, we're going to have this one wholesaler, and we're going to give you all this one product. Everybody else, you're screwed. because we didn't choose you. So there's no competition there. So what do you think is going to happen with the price? Do you think it's going to be cheaper because there's no competition?
No. I think it'll be more expensive.
It's going to be more expensive, and that's something else. We kind of talked about with
Roger.
And just learning from other states that have employed getting rid of like the 3-tier system. Any alcoholic beverage is usually 20 to 25% more expensive, just from that simple little change.
Yeah.
So in a way, the 3-tier system, it is kind of archaic, but it's also keeping the market diversified to where, got to think that helps locally too, because if it wasn't like diversified like that, you could just be like how the 3-2 market is, where like, hey, this total national corporation or hell international, I don't think they're even owned by people in the country, right? Anheuser-Busch.
No, I think it's a Dutch
and one's Brazilian.
Or so, yeah,
I don't even know. That's my point. They're not in state.
Yeah.
They can just move in and go, hey, we're big. We're going to sell this, and everybody else is like, okay. And they're on the smaller end. Do you think how well do you think they can compete with that?
Sure. Yeah. Not very well.
Not very well. Yeah.
Which I think real quick we should mention too, and I thought it was a pretty funny statement that he made, Roger here, when he was talking about kind of a benefit of liquor stores is that that's all they have in there.
Yeah.
Is strong beer, liquor, wine. They know what they're selling. They can talk about it. They have knowledge of it.
They're intimate with the product.
Exactly. And like he said, I mean, this isn't a verbatim quote, but it's pretty approximate. He's like, what the fuck is a 15-year-old sack boy at Walmart going to know about the beer you're buying, the wine you're buying, that liquor you're buying? And it's a good question because the answer's probably
not shit.
Yeah. It'll get you drunk.
It'll get you drunk.
I mean, maybe I'm assuming he'll probably know that much at least. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Whereas you have somebody where, I mean, hell, we went in here to talk about we went in there to talk to him. Well, we went in there to buy some beer and then started talking to him about something that's going to affect people like him if it gets passed. And hell, he was even still taking the time. You can tell how much the guy knows about stuff because he was like, hey, you guys ever heard of these beers over here? Remember those two? I can't remember. One of them was like, he said it was brewed by monks since the 1300s.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you won't see this shit anymore if this law gets passed. And it was just...
He's like, you ever heard of it? And I was like, no, I actually haven't. He's like, well, you definitely won't now.
Yeah, you won't see it anymore. And there was another one was a French beer. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, he was like, these are two really just awesome beers. He's like, yeah, man, you won't see him. Like, you'll see him in, like, because again, I think he's right. If this law passes, the fact that you have you have a lot of liquor stores, most of those will go away, and it'll be a handful of bigger liquor stores that have their own buildings. Because I didn't know this either. He's right next door to a 7-Eleven. His lease is through 7-Eleven, so 7-Eleven kind of controls some of the conditions of his lease, which is, I think, not to sell,
Yeah, and he gets every year a 1-year lease.
Yeah,
that's it.
So, and I think people like him will most likely be gone.
Yeah, because he said, if you're allowed to sell this same better beer in a cooler next door, they won't want you set up right there competing with them.
Yeah, there'll be no, so they won't even let you get a lease.
Yeah, they're just like, well,
yeah, and he was kind of talking too, like they own like 7-Elevens, they own, I guess, I mean, and it's I can't say it's dumb of them. They own the whole little strip there, that little strip that their stuff's in. So he was like, they won't let a tobacco shop in, a vape shop, because they sell that stuff in 7-Eleven. They let him there because they're not allowed to sell liquor and strong beer. But if they are, they've got no use for him anymore.
Yeah,
they're going to send him packing.
Or he could be, like he was, you were saying it's like 60% of his business, the beer and what else, the wine.
Yeah, I think he said maybe all
he could turn into just a liquor store.
Yeah, just straight liquor.
But is that going to be enough for him to actually stay in business?
Exactly, and I think his
or hell anybody because so think about like any place with a strip mall that has a little 7-Eleven and like there's always a liquor store right next to it.
Yeah, I never realized until talking to him.
Most likely a lot of them are gone.
Yeah, like the sort of control that the 7-Elevens have over those guys.
Or anybody. I'm sure there's other
convenience
gas stations
stores
or just any business that has a little
strip
spot like that.
Yeah. And he was saying like it's just him and his wife that run the thing, and yeah, he said basically you'll be taking away 60% of his profit, leaving him with the 40% ish from just straight liquor. And he was like, yeah, I mean, he goes, and if they let me stay open on Sunday, he's like, well, hell, I got to work 7 days a week, man.
Yeah,
I think he was saying he already puts in nearly 70 hours a week anyway.
Because he's just a small small business.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's just it didn't sound. After talking to him, I mean, I made the comment. I thought that was kind of funny at the time. I was like, it was talking to him about it was a bit of a sobering experience.
Yeah.
Because I was like, huh. Which was, funny to have in a liquor store, but I was like, that I hadn't really thought of it from the perspective of a small business owner.
Yeah.
They're going to get ramrodded by this probably.
Yeah.
So I have to wonder, is it, I mean, it's not that big of a deal that I can't get my spot in cold. Yeah. That's fine. I'll go through. I mean, like I was saying, I would pay an extra $1 or $2 to buy beer from that guy because he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And you're only going to get that from small businesses, really. Like he was kind of intimating, the 15-year-old sack boy isn't going to be, it's not going to be like, you're not going to have that same familiarity that you have with a small business.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just when I started thinking about it, I was like, man, I think I'm maybe kind of, having a sea change here.
Well, plus at the same time, we're talking about, local, how it affects, local small businesses.
Sure.
They changed that law and, first they brought up this joint resolution for changing all the laws in the first place. Anheuser-Busch threw a fit because they basically told them within 5 years you have to...
Here comes the bullshit.
You have to divest.
Yeah.
And become just like everybody else, playing on a fair playing field.
Yep.
And they lost their shit. They put like a print ad in the Oklahoman. They've got a website, telling you how Bud Light's or, Budweiser's cool and all this type of shit. And then I think later on they did make a concession.
Yeah, of course they did.
A compromise. We're like, oh, you know what? Maybe later we'll think about that. And
yeah. This is the bullshit. Because
you don't have to do that. You can keep your monopoly on 3-2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Because what that screams to me is fucking Budweiser busted out the fucking checkbook.
Yeah.
And these fucking politicians probably just gobbled up all this fucking money.
They did.
And said, yeah, you scratch ours, we'll scratch yours. And I don't know if they're scratching each other's backs, each other's balls or whatever, but it's fucking I hate
you gotta
shit
think,
like
if they didn't get that compromise put in, they would then go on a big campaign until November. When the vote goes in. And they would go to, I think I read this on the Lost Ogle, and it was like, they'll go to all the Joe Bobs here in Oklahoma, and the government is going to take my Bud Light, and they'll all hate it and vote it down just because of that.
Yeah. And it just chaps my ass that, like, you have these big fucking corporations that are able to, obviously, that's what, they're able to spend money to insulate themselves in a way that the John Q. public cannot. Yeah. And it's like, who's getting the better representation of the law here?
Yeah.
It's not it's not the average citizen.
And what I was talking about a minute ago, like I don't think I finished my thought. Like, if they're allowed to then do that, and say they get rid of the 3-tier system and they give them monopoly, and you put all these smaller people competing with them, their money and tax money, that's not staying in state. They're national corporations that go somewhere else. It's not they're not local people.
Yeah. And that's what Roger was saying too. He's talking about, like Budweiser, for instance, and, he's talking about Walmart. That money's going to Arkansas. Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, I mean, nothing against Arkansas, but if we want to talk about a state worrying about its own people, its constituents, its constituency, you would want to look at, you would think if anybody was given any sort of favor, not that anybody should, but it would be your businesses, not... Yeah. Well, that's kind of the comment he made, is he was like, this state wants big business.
Yeah.
And look what it's done to us.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, we still have the same dependence upon big energy.
Yeah.
And whenever big energy goes tits up, guess what?
Everything else does too.
It stings like a motherfucker.
House prices go down. Shit gets closed as far as the budget, schools.
So I mean,
everything.
I think I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not trying to. I don't want to. I don't want to act like I'm an expert on any of this shit. But fuck, man, I'm starting to wonder if I was. I think I was wrong in initially kind of being like, fuck yeah, let's vote this in. As much as I think some of these laws are retarded, I think that if you change them, you're gonna kill so much business, like so much local business.
That just seems to be anybody that runs and. Kind of like how you're talking about this realization. That was kind of what I thought too, like looking into this where, I really want this reform as
Yeah.
far as like certain aspects of, Oklahoma's liquor laws are concerned.
Yeah.
But, I was just like following some people on Twitter and just different places I know that, are just like Roger here. And that seems to be all their same sentiment. It's like, if you're a retailer, like, you are going to get fucked. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to, there are, a big chains that, they're not even a chain, but like they're bigger stores and maybe they're in their own building. They don't have to worry about a lease from 7-Eleven. Maybe they do. I don't know. Or from anybody. And they might be able to survive.
Sure.
But one, will they? And two, especially if you're on the smaller end of the spectrum.
Yeah, you're gone.
You're gone. Yeah. I mean, it's just not happening. I'm trying to remember who I was following. So one of our first followers' names was Maddie Gregory, and her dad owns and runs. It's just a complete wine shop called Edmond Wine up in Edmond.
Yeah,
and he wrote an opinion, and she put, he wrote it on his Facebook, I think, and she was just like sharing it around because that he was very adamant about what he was saying, and I think the Oklahoman published his opinion, and he was just like, do the math. He was like, there's going to be so many, if you allow this to happen, you're going to have so many more outlets for these certain products going up against such a small number of retailers that exist in the first place. You're smart enough to know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not, I'm not saying they all should just survive and we should protect them all, but
sure.
It's dumb to be like, this senator that came up with it, I think his name's Senator Jolly. He was just like, there's more than enough money to go around. When the hell is that ever the case?
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, we'll just split it all up and we'll bring in all these other people and we can all have a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's a piece of the pie, that means I'm getting less and somebody else is getting some.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
It's not all peaches and cream, man. Like,
yeah, and I don't know if, I'm on the wrong side of this somehow. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but it sounds like in the end, the only people this is going to help are the big companies that are already...
Yeah.
They're already the big companies.
And that's something, this person I was just talking about, I think his name is Vance Gregory. He's the one that runs Edmond Wine. He's like, and it's not that we don't want restrictions lifted on, say, like the craft brewing industry. I totally want that.
Sure.
I totally want stronger beer. Talking about Roger, it was like, in a weird way, it's like those places wouldn't need to even exist in the first place if we didn't have these crazy archaic laws.
That's true.
They wouldn't have popped up.
Yeah.
Or if they did pop up, they would be, on their own, independently, and
yeah.
They would build a business.
You wouldn't need a liquor store if you could buy, again...
they would have liquor, but they would grow in their own way.
Yeah, they would have, to get all these different types of beers, but who knows, hell, if, if all the laws made sense, you might not have all these different kinds of beers to begin with. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a weird, like, which came, chicken and the egg
because
thing,
you got to think a lot of the craft brewing industry is in response to, look at the market share these two breweries have, Anheuser-Busch and Coors Miller. Mm-hmm. And then look at how much people don't like it. They're like, this tastes like shit.
Yeah.
I don't like this beer.
Yeah.
Much less if it's 3-2.
Sure, yeah.
The diversification of, like you said, all these different kinds of beers. And that's where, in response, this isn't a very new thing. This has been the past 5-10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That they're popping up and, doing their thing. Which, hey, power to them.
Sure.
I'm all for it. And especially... Look at how you're talking about Roger. He's a retailer. I think the same thing about local breweries. They're a local business. That's, on the spectrum of big business in America, they're definitely on the smaller end.
Sure.
And hell in the state, much less nationally. So, I do wish that they were, allowed to do a lot more. Allowed to distribute more, I guess.
Sell to whoever wants to buy it.
Yeah. Because that's some of the different laws that are, wanting to be changed or haven't been changed, where it's like they can't even sell on the premises of their brewery. I don't think.
I mean, hell, we've talked about stuff too. Just there's so many. I mean, it's like OU football games.
Yeah.
If you're one of the teeming masses, the plebs, who are in the stands, you can't buy beer. Mm-hmm. You used to be able to, but then they don't like.
I guess that's the school that got rid of that.
Yeah, the school didn't want it anymore. Which, I don't think the school ought to be able to fucking have a say in that. I'd be like, you're a state fucking school. I mean, there's
I
fucking
understand,
taxes paying for your shit, but hey,
Can
whatever.
of worms.
So they fucking say, nope, no more beer. Unless you're one of the big dogs up in the luxury suites that we have, the box seats, you can have liquor then. And I'm like, dude, this shit's what started the French Revolution, man. These motherfuckers in their boxes, their
I don't know
luxury
about
boxes,
that, but yeah.
eating a fucking cake, while the rest of us are like, can we just get a little bit?
You're going to go occupy Sooner
no,
Field?
No, I don't care about it that much. To be totally honest, I'll probably never go see I've seen one OU football game live.
Really? Ever?
Yeah, ever. You know why?
Why?
It's cost too much fucking money to go to a
Dude,
game.
it's not that much, man. I've gotten... You can get in there
like
cheap.
$60-$70 to go to a game.
I can get in there
Probably
cheaper.
watch us get beat. So
Well, not with that attitude.
yeah, it's just too much money, too much fucking hassle. I'm just kind of like, no
You're going to go one of these days. I'm going to take it.
I mean, yeah, okay. I'm not saying I'll never go again. I'm just kind of like, dude.
I've been to too many games, man. I've been burnt out.
Yeah, I'd rather just watch it on TV. And plus, like I said, you can't drink. Not that I'm sitting here drinking beer all the time, but if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because, I'm out in the open at a sporting event.
Yeah.
Shit may get dangerous.
I know.
Whatever.
Yeah. That's why I like going to, we've talked about the energy. You can go there. They've got Anthem Brewery is there.
Nice.
They've got like 3 things on tap.
So you can buy beer at the soccer
Hell
game.
yeah, you can.
Well,
It's damn good, too.
All right. Well, see.
You got 3 different choices. It's like, I can't remember what kinds I've got, but.
Well, see, that's something I can get behind.
It's good. I think you can go get like, they sell Bud Light and that bullshit there too. But I didn't buy any of it. Just saying.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. These, and like we were talking about sin taxes off the air earlier and stuff, or stuff that seems like that. Like, I've always hated, I used to be a smoker. Until fairly recently. I've been not smoking for like 7-8 months or something.
You've been vaping a lot.
Been vaping a lot. I always hated it when they would just come around and be like, we're increasing the tax on cigarettes again. Increasing the tax on cigarettes again. And I'm like, is it fucking legal or not? If it's legal, leave it the fuck alone. Tax it like anything else. Why should something be taxed more because you don't really like it? Then make it fucking illegal. Have some stones and just say, fuck it. We don't want it.
It's just part of a public policy.
But I get it.
One, they're looking for money. And 2,
but to me, it's the most.
They're discouraging people.
Yeah, they're not because they know they know everybody that smokes is a fucking addict. They know they've got them already, and they're like, well, fuck, we can squeeze another $1 out of them per pack. Yeah. They'll do it.
And that's something I told you off air too. Was like we have all these fiscal problems, and that's one of the governor's proposals. Like, hey, let's increase cigarette tax, where it's like, what did you just do? You've been kicking cigarettes.
Yeah,
that is a trend. I'm not. That's not.
Yeah,
we'll
give them time.
That's not just you.
They're wanting to come
vaping.
Yeah, they're wanting to come after vaping.
And, that might
we
be
may
a
have
great
to do
episode.
a podcast on vaping.
But I don't think the cigarette tax is going to plug the huge oil and gas hole.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't. It's going to go out a limb there.
I think that's a pretty sturdy limb, buddy.
Yeah,
that is not gonna help.
Yeah, great proposal.
Yeah. And I just hate stuff like that where I'm like, where it seems like, it doesn't seem like, it fucking is. You're taxing something more because why not?
It's naughty.
Yeah, because you can.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets, I wish one guy would fucking get up, or one gal, somebody just be like, leave smokers alone.
Yeah.
Is it legal to smoke? Cool. Sales tax. Done. That's it. It should be illegal to charge more.
Which I think they want to increase too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
If it's legal, it should cost the same amount of tax to buy a fucking pack of cigarettes as it should a fucking gallon of water.
And kind of what you're talking about, like, look at, like, all these tiers that are applied to these beers and the system and stuff. What's taxed at what is kind of crazy too.
Yeah, I just
like, well, this one's a little more, a little less, and you're like, why? Actually, why don't you make it a level playing field?
I'm with you. Yeah, and see, that kind of goes into, a handful of podcasts ago when I said, like, I am a fan of small government because this shit is all fucking just signs of just government fucking just run fucking wild, dude. Just
talking to people when they, like, I was wanting to do this episode in the first place, and then this Senate resolution came out, and they were just getting the paperwork on it, and everyone was just like, I can't even say anything on this. Because I got to sit here and read this shit and think about it for a week.
Yeah.
Because it's so goddamn complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this shit I wrote out, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's for a fucking podcast.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I got to get my shit straight here because I'm not going to be able to remember all this. Yeah, and I don't think we're not diving into the depths of all this shit either.
No.
You know, we might have been wrong on a few things, just putting that out there.
Well, you might have been wrong.
Yeah, of course. But it's just, it's like, it's so goddamn complicated, and that's kind of the point of this episode where it's like, your realization, hey, yeah, sounds cool. Reform the laws. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, and I guess, what you brought up was a really good point a couple of, I don't know how many podcasts ago it was, but I think it's another, I don't know how many people are listening to this podcast. Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows? If we're lucky...
Well, I do, but anyway.
Okay, all right. Well,
roughly.
The hundreds of thousands that listen to this podcast, if you've never thought about before getting out and voting for these local questions, you really need to take a moment to think about, look into this law. And at least from my understanding, I mean, take it for as much as you can from a layman. It really sounds like if this thing passes, a lot of small businesses, Oklahoma businesses, small businesses are going to get fucked.
Yeah.
So just think about that. I mean, do you care about small businesses?
Hey, maybe
in your
you
community?
don't. But at the same time, it's like you got to be informed on half this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if you're somebody who says, you know what? That sucks for the small business, but I want my beer cold.
Stop right now, gun to your head. Where's Senator Jolly even from? Do you even know? I didn't know. I had to look it up.
Oklahoma City.
Close.
I was just gonna pick the biggest.
I think
town.
he's mostly his district's Edmond.
Edmond, okay,
and a little bit north of that.
Okay. Well, there
he's
you
a
go.
Republican. I had to look him up because I'm like,
close,
that's the whole
close.
fucking point. I didn't even know.
Yeah, didn't know who he was. Yeah.
Never even heard of him until he brought this shit up.
Yeah, so I'm just saying this kind of is a reminder for me. I need to have this in my head when I go vote in November, man. If this shit's on the ballot, I need to know what I'm going to say on this.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to give me the 411 on the fucking ballot. They're going to give me a general synopsis, and that's it. They're not going to...
I told you, and I've shown you here, there's this whole page of shit I wrote down. I had to get it from all sorts of different sources.
Exactly.
I'll bring one up. The Thirsty Beagle. Great blog that covers just nothing but this shit. So really? if anyone's interested in that, go check that out.
That's an awesome name, too. Thirsty Beagle.
The Thirsty Beagle. I did get some, information just from we brought her up. I think it was concerning the Holtz Claw thing. Brianna Bailey. Okay. She writes for the Oklahoman.
Yep.
She was doing a bunch of pieces over, I think, kind of like, how I was thinking about doing just a show on the beer industry in the first place. She was doing some stories on that, and then all this stuff started coming out, so she was covering it a little bit. But basically, I had to go digging around, I had to go find this Travis Roach here to, find out some of the numbers. And
what was the one thing you were telling me about? Was it something ale?
Yeah, there's a guy out of Tulsa, and then he's got a blog, I think it is, and it's called What the Ale.
What the Ale.
What the Ale. Yeah. And just stuff like that, a couple things on the Lost Ogle. You had to go find the stuff, because if you just read just that one random piece in the newspaper. Or if you're the person... Hey, they're changing some of the alcohol laws. Isn't that interesting?
Or and I've been guilty of this myself in the past. You show up to vote and there's state questions and you're like, oh, what's this?
Fuck is this?
And you read the little synopsis they have and you're like, yeah, okay, fuck it. I want that. Or, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
But you really don't have an informed opinion, really.
Yeah.
You have an opinion, of course.
Yeah. But
it's not informed. If that's
Everyone's
all you go
got an opinion.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I just hope that...
Like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Exactly. So yeah, I just think it would be you're selling your own vote short if you don't inform yourself on these issues.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm a perfect example. I fucking woke up today thinking I thought one thing about this law, talked to a local business owner, and suddenly I'm kind of like, huh.
Damn.
A little bit of a intellectual crisis going on in my head here.
I did the same thing researching this stuff because I was like, I never even thought about it from the end of like, what if I'm just a shop and I just sell wine, or what if I'm like this Roger and just have a little liquor store in a strip mall next to a 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I'm staring down the barrel right now if I'm that guy.
Or what if you're even a bigger liquor store on your own independent? How much? It really depends on, like Roger was saying, how much percentage of what you sell.
Yeah.
To what?
Exactly. Of what's going to change.
How you are going to fare if this law passes.
Yeah. Yeah. And he says
there's not enough to go around, Senator Jolly. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, there's not. No. Now, maybe the people that are, the movers and shakers throwing money around and shit, Sure. I'm sure there will be enough for all that.
Yeah, that's something the Vance Gregory put in his opinion, where it was like, this is just a blatant attempt for out-of-state people to come in and get a piece of the pie here. I mean, that's basically what we're saying.
Yeah.
He was like, it's a way for them to get in our market.
Yep.
And for them to profit, and you'll see that go somewhere else.
Yep. It's not going to be like Roger said. The money that these out-of-state corporations make, that money goes back out of state.
Yeah.
The money that he makes, it recirculates in the community and stuff. Local. And I'm kind of like, yeah, that makes fucking sense.
Yeah.
So, because, he owns the store, he lives here, he spends his money here.
He pays his taxes here.
He pays his taxes here. There you go.
Et cetera.
Yeah,
man.
so I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's a bit of an intellectual crisis. It's more of a philosophical crisis in my head. Yeah. Kind of going like, man, I think I might have started on the wrong side of this. Mm-hmm. Because and I don't know what the perfect solution is, because I think some of these, like you said, some of these laws are just fucking draconian.
Yeah.
They're stupid. But because we've had them for so long, it's given rise to the situation that we're in. And if we suddenly change it, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows for everybody. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, it's going to be pretty gloomy for a lot are
Yeah.
Because
those are local jobs too. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Anheuser-Busch was like, hey, you're going to kill jobs if you don't, because they were going to have to divest. They were like, you're going to kill our jobs. And I think they employ like 700 people.
Yeah.
700 people compared to what, man? Like, how much does the craft brewing industry employ? How much does all these retailers employ?
Yeah.
How much do all these distributors employ? I'm going to guess it's more than 700 people.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted though. Like, at least, I'm not saying you, but in general, Budweiser doesn't want this bill to pass either.
Well, they didn't, because they weren't included in being special.
Okay, now they are.
They were, now they are.
So fine with it.
Yeah, fuck it, yeah.
Okay, all right. Initially, though,
they can do both now. They can keep their monopoly on 3-2 and sell strong beer. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And run all these people out of business. Great to them.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I don't know. It's just, I think I know how I'm going to vote when it comes time. Okay. I just think if people, anybody interested in local politics, your state level politics, you really need to maybe look at this. And even if you're not a drinker, but if, you don't have a problem with people drinking.
Yeah.
If you're cool with small local businesses, yeah, you got to think your local economy might get kind of hit by this.
Yeah.
So maybe it won't though. I don't know. I'm not professing to be any sort of fucking expert on any of this. I just know, looking at the cold hard facts of it, it sounds like it's gonna have a pretty decent impact.
Yeah. Everyone, it seems like they're kind of like, well, other than Anheuser-Busch and the bigger and Coors Miller. They're kind of like, well, it's not what we wanted, but that's part of political compromise. We get it. And then there's the Oklahoma Liquor Retailers Association, and they're just like, fuck this. and that's what Roger had. He had a letter from them because that's who they're kind of representing, is people like that who are, like we're saying, they're going to be on the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Something else that law does, and I think Roger brought this up, is it gets rid of ABLE. You ever heard of that? I didn't know if you knew what that was.
No.
That's kind of like the state task force that goes around and polices liquor laws. So I've worked at a show one time, what was it, the Calf Fry up in Stillwater. They do an annual concert every year, and they sell beer and liquor and stuff. Well, you'll have these people come in, and they're from ABLE, and they're making sure everything's cool, And a lot of them, talk shit on them because it's the police. They're gonna come around and yada yada yada. But that's their job too. What this bill would do is just get rid of that. They wouldn't have any of that. And it would basically leave all the policing to the rest of the 77 counties and their sheriffs. Which, I'm like, why would you why? Like, I'm from a very small, rural town, and I'm here to tell you, if you know the sheriff, you might be able to get some ins and outs.
Sure.
So I've known some stuff. I would rather have, just from a safety standpoint, and if you're concerned about kids and stuff, I would rather have ABLE than just getting rid of it.
Sure.
And that's something else Roger brought up. People come into his liquor store, they're there for one reason only.
Yeah.
They're there to buy that stuff.
Yeah.
You put that stuff in a grocery store, they're able to walk out with TVs easily. What do you think's going to happen with wine and beer?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they already. I mean, I've worked at a Walmart before. They already still beer.
Sure. They'll
just now be able to steal a lot more
stronger shit,
and more of it because they'll have wine too there.
Yeah.
So from that, I'm always kind of. I'm usually on the opposite of that argument where I'm like, but people steal stuff anyway.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's like, why get rid of it and make it like less safe? Usually they're on the other end of that and going, oh God, we need to be overly safe. I can believe this guy was like, oh, I'm just going to get rid of Abel.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why not?
Save money.
Save money, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think I wanted to say, because I think I might have, I kind of misspoke earlier. When I was talking about this, these bullet points or whatever, it was the what'd you say, the retailers, Oklahoma Retailers
Association, yeah.
It was their bullet points for what they want to do,
yeah.
Which is to allow single strength beer in Oklahoma, refrigeration of strong beer in all outlets, and stuff like that. So that's not what SJR 68 is. That's what the Oklahoma Retailers are wanting to.
That's their opinion. Yeah. I think that does change in SJR 68, but it's the fact that like they're just voicing their opinion because like this is what we believe, and please don't fucking change it.
Yeah.
if you're going to, because they will change. Well, It's like with the Budweiser thing, they changed that. They snuck it in.
Yep. Which, it just goes to show, man. I mean, if you want to avail yourself of the legal process, money's king.
Yeah. And I get it, but
fucking
Jesus, man.
I'm telling you, man, people in their cake, dude.
Yeah.
Just fucking eating their fucking cake, man. While the rest of us are fucking eating like, Cheetos or something, dude. It just pisses me off, man. Well, yeah, so we've actually gone, I swear, every time I think we're not going to do much of a podcast on some topic, we're a little over an hour right now.
Getting some hard-hitting facts up in here, man.
Yeah. Anything else you got to say about any of this?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, we will probably be revisiting this because there's more to talk about, I'm sure. Yeah. If anybody else wants to talk about any more of it.
Yeah, anybody's got any comments on it or anything? And I don't think I actually gave
You didn't. I actually didn't even notice until now either.
Damn. Well,
you didn't do first contact, man.
I didn't do first contact. Well, we'll do it.
But either way, yeah, I mean, like I said, if someone wants to, maybe we're wrong about something or they want to give more of an opinion, feel free to do so. And plus, if this goes through, we're going to have to be voting on it in November anyway.
Yeah, so we'll
I'm
be
sure
talking
there'll be
about
more
it.
developments.
Yeah.
The fact that that's happening anyway, we'll retouch on the subject.
Okay. Is there anybody else we need to give a shout out to or anything?
I think that's it, yeah.
Okay, so we've worked all bases covered?
All bases covered.
All right, well, it's time to hit terminal or escape velocity or whatever the fuck it is anymore. So yeah, let's see. If you guys want to get in touch with us, it's ufppodcast@gmail.com, @UFP on Twitter, and Unidentified Flying Podcast on Facebook.
And you did that without the paper.
Damn, I didn't have my paper this time. Man. All right, I'm getting better. I'm evolving. So yeah, just any comments, critiques, advice, whatever, questions, go ahead and, send us something. Or, fucking don't, whatever. But hey, so I guess that's it for us. We're gonna blast off out of here. So you've been listening to the Unidentified Flying Podcast. This has been Drew, and
this is Brad.
Y'all have a good one.